All right, so if you're learning Terraform and how it works in AWS cloud, the hardest part is not the syntax, but basically knowing where to start. Today I'm showcasing an application that would ask you just a few questions about what you're building, how many users you intend to target, and it will generate a complete production pattern, Terraform configuration or instance that you can actually deploy to the cloud. It is designed to handle multiple scenarios across different scales, but for the purpose of this presentation, I would be showcasing a single EC2 instance that handles up to 1000 users or 1000 users, yes. And for security reasons, I'm choosing this basic version just to showcase the logic behind the actual product. Feel free to check out this basic version if you find it interesting. I would leave a link to the GitHub repo, which you can actually visit to grab the application if you find it useful. And if you're wondering how Terraform works or how to create infrastructure in the cloud or how to host your application and manage certain number of users, but you really don't know how to do it, well, this basic version educates you and also generates a deployable code, uh, which we would showcase uh, in a moment. So if you find this interesting and you are willing to see how this works, let's get started. So as you can see here, it says here master Terraform AWS architecture, and basically what it's trying to tell us here is that the application can manage four different categories. The single EC2 or micro or small scale instances, ASG, ALB, or RDS, um, merged or medium large scale instances, a combination of ASG, ALB, and RDS databases, or uh, hyperscale instances for uh, enterprise businesses, EKS plus RDS combination. It also has Helm charts for hybrid workflows. So basically, the application covers 14 different scenarios, but I would only be showcasing one scenario today. It does ask us here, what are you building? Today, since I'm building a web app in this case, and I want to deploy the web app to the cloud, I would go with number one. And then it should ask me how many users do I target with this web app. In this case, I can go with 1,000, 10,000, or and so on, but I'll be going with 1,000 users, which is what I'm showcasing today. I'll go with option one, and then you can see clearly that it does educate us here by explaining why we should choose a certain format or pattern. It also kind of gives us an estimate of how much it will cost to host this in the cloud on a monthly basis. Uh, Several other information which I would not be covering here. And now we're down to the next point where the application actually asks you what region you intend to have your application deployed to. In my case, I would just go with number three. And here is where it asks you for the EC2 key pair, which I mentioned earlier that you must have to actually deploy an EC2 instance in AWS cloud. So I will provide my EC2 instance key, and it will ask us here to provide our VPC ID. Well, for security reasons, I will not be providing my exact VPC ID, I would just add a random ID, since that does not stop us from showcasing how this application works. The next will be the subnet ID, which I will also provide a random one since I see the format. But in the real instance, you should have already the correct VPC and subnet ID as well before you actually start this application, if you intend to deploy what you build to the cloud once the application creates them for you. That being said, I'll provide the subnet ID, and then here it would ask you if you want to restrict the SSH, which means logging into the instance to your IP only. In this case, it's better to do that if you're working in an enterprise environment. You don't want anyone to SSH or logging into your um, instance from any other IP address except for the ones you trust. But for the purpose of this presentation, I would simply just go with no. However, in your instance, you should go with yes. However, if you intend to access your application from different IP addresses, of course, no would be the best option. And now it would ask me for the project name. For this instance, I would just give it app EC2, maybe something like that. And the last question here is to ask if I want this to come with the monitoring stack. The application also can install monitoring stack, which you can use to monitor whatever you deploy to AWS cloud. In this case, I would also go with yes. And as we can see here, it created the directory. It also created all the files with the actual name that we chose, and all the modules are there as well. And it ends with some educational information that you would also find useful, but I will not be going through that right now. After this stage, what the application does is to initialize what was created, in this case the Terraform. At this case, it is installing everything that is needed for this deployment to proceed. And as we can see here, Terraform initialization was successful, and just what I was expecting. We do have the plan successful. However, deployment failed, and that is basically because I provided um, a VPC ID that is definitely not correct. As we can see here, it says no matching EC2 VPC found, and also it does say no matching EC2 subnet found. So this is basically how this application works. If you are interested in building several uh, Terraform templates, or learning how Terraform works, and also how to deploy your Terraform uh, templates to AWS cloud and manage them, this is a perfect place to get started. Thank you for watching the video, and do be on the lookout for more videos that I'll be posting on this channel, and have a nice day.